The mother is the most selfless, others-centered human being on the planet. There is no one to compete with her. Absolutely, without a doubt. You know, when I was growing up, I didn't even know my mum did anything. And I just went on with life. You just don't know. She just gets on with it. And now that I'm older, I look back and I think, good grief. She never lived a second for herself in all of my life. It's actually astounding. It blows me away, the level of selflessness to which this calls a person. And it is interesting, every time there's a list of women's virtues given in the New Testament, there is always something about being a mother, a wife, and a household, a housekeeper. Always. It comes up time and again. The commendable widow in 1 Timothy 5:10 is someone who's an experienced mother, a faithful wife, hospitable to strangers. Titus 2:3, older women are to tell younger women to love their husbands and children and to be keepers at home. 1 Timothy 5:13 talks about bearing children and keeping house. He says that actually keeps women from sin because they're engaged in a good and a godly enterprise. Motherhood in the Bible, and this again, I just wish women's ministries and stuff would talk more about this stuff. Motherhood in the Bible is one of the most crucial ministries described. And it is a recurring theme that comes up over and over again in the stories of the Old Testament. And then, of course, the New Testament opens with a mother, Mary. You can look at the mothers of the Bible and the crucial ministries they had. Again, from that posture we described before, from a humble posture. This is selfless work. This is work in the shadows. This is stuff that the world doesn't look at and say, oh, you're amazing. But God does, because you can look at someone like Hannah. What did she do? She prayed for children. Why? So she could have a son for God. God blessed the desire. That son, he changed the world. It was an incredible man. And it was because of her. That was her doing. Or you can look at, there's Moses' mother. And through her wisdom and through her care for a child and her prayers, what happened? Moses, the greatest figure in the Old Testament. The greatest figure in the Old Testament. A man who led God's people out of captivity and became an archetype for so much throughout all of redemptive history. You can look at someone like Elizabeth. What did Jesus say about John the Baptist? He said, no greater has ever been born of a woman than John the Baptist. It's quite a compliment, isn't it? Wow. And that was, again, a godly mum in Elizabeth. And Mary went to see her. There's obviously the story of Mary. God saved the world through the ministry of a mother. In a crucial sense. And that's how the New Testament opens. It's interesting when you read the story of Leah, right? Leah's one of the most, she's no particular character, right, in the Old Testament. She's just a mum. She's really despised by her husband. She was like the wrong one. And had to live with that for the rest of her life. And she went through all sorts of trouble. It's just really interesting how that her story of her relationship with God is told through the names of her children. She has Reuben first, and it says, see a son. And then Simeon is born, and he's called Heard. And she says, look, God has heard that I'm hated. Because in the first case, she's saying, now my husband will love me. God's given me a blessing. Then he says, God's heard that I'm still hated. Then Levi is called Joined, and she says, God's now going to join my husband to me. And so she's going through this anguish. And then Judah's born, and it means this time I will praise the Lord. And you see her come to a place of peace through the story of her children. It's quite beautiful. And that's just a mum. But hey, Judah is in the line of Christ. I just want to make the point, the world will tell you that motherhood is oppression. Most people will look at mums and say, well, just a homemaker, just a mum. That's what you hear all the time. Well, what do you do? I'm just a mum. It's really sad. And I find it really sad that the only avenue that's ever put before, particularly women, is the career avenue, is the university avenue, is the work avenue, and no one ever spares a thought for something that is more important. It's more important. It's a great blessing. Not every person is called to it. I understand that. And there are notable exceptions to everything that I have said this evening, pretty much, nearly everything that I've said this evening. There are always the outliers, the notable exceptions, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But exceptions, as I said the other night, are by their very nature exceptions. This is the calling on the life of so many. And of course, what that's going to do is we know that this will give society a certain look. And it's a look that, again, the woke lot can't stand. You know, if you do walk into a boardroom and you've got 7 men and 3 women, they freak out. Hey, do you know what that means? It means the other women are actually raising kids. That's what it means. And Tony Abbott was right when he said, well, you've got to assume that's a problem. How could you assume that's a problem? It's not a problem. You've got responsible men doing their work, and you've got women who are sold out for the cause of their children and their families. So what? Good. You know, it's not a problem. And so you find that society, yeah, it takes on a certain look, but it's a good look. It's a virtuous look. It means families are flourishing. It means people are functioning. It means children are being raised in a better environment. And we talked the other day about the importance of family in life and just the impact that has on the world. And I want to make this point as well, though. It's not just mothers, it's also fathers. And I made the point that all of these virtues that we've been describing, they are virtues. They're things for us to aspire to as man, as woman, but also they are perfectly and powerfully expressed in the family. You know, the man's, as they say in the New Testament, headship is most beneficial in his family. The woman's help is most powerful in the family. And the impact on the world is most profound through the family.